All right, the quadratic formula solves all quadratics if they are in standard form and set equal to 0 and all that business. It's a formula, so basically you're going to take numbers, put it into the formula, follow the order of operations, and get the answer for what the variable is, m or b or x or whatever. One thing that you have to do is you have to make sure that your quadratic is set equal to 0 before you do the quadratic formula. So down here we have some work to do before we can start doing the quadratic formula. Now the quadratic formula looks intimidating, but we're going to break it up into parts so that it's not so bad. Okay, I'm going to do number 1. I'll write the quadratic formula over here, and then you'll have to do number 2, but I'm not going to do number 2 with you. All right, so x equals, or the variable m equals whatever it is, but typically it's x, equals negative b plus or minus the square root, and then on the bottom it's 2a. So this is the structure of it. The structure of it, it's a fraction, and it's negative b plus or minus square root over 2a. So that's really the first part of it that you do. The second part of it is called the discriminant, and that's b squared minus 4ac. And that's where you have to really do the calculations, and that's going to be b gets squared minus 4 times a times c, and you subtract those two numbers, and that's underneath the square root. So this is a quadratic formula. So it's x equals or m equals or whatever the variable is. So here we go. Step 1, identify the a, b, and c. So this is in standard form because it's variable squared minus number times variable, etc., etc. There's an invisible 1 in front there. So a is equal to 1. B, you got to take the negative with it. It's negative 5. And then c is also, you got to take the minus sign with it. So it's negative 14. Now we're going to take these and plug them into the formula. Notice b is negative, and then I have a negative 5. So it's a double negative situation. So it flips the sign and makes it 5. And then I'm so used to writing x there, I'm going to change it to m because that's the variable that we're solving for. So m is equal to negative b, so it's a double negative, so it's 5 plus or minus square root over 2a. So it's 2 times 1. So that's the structure of it. It's a fraction. The only calculation that we really need to do that's challenging to us is the inside part here. That's really where we have to do the calculations. 2 times 1 isn't much of a calculation, is it? So we're going to do b squared. Now, if you're using a calculator, it's very important that you put the negative 5 in parentheses so that you square the negative. And then minus 4, parentheses, a is 1, and c is negative 14. So it's 5 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 14. So let me show you how to type this into the calculator. So the green part here, hopefully you can kind of see that's green. It doesn't look too green on my screen, but it is green. And that's what you're typing in. Parentheses, negative 5, parentheses, squared. So you have the b squared, then minus 4 times a. Let's just make it look exactly like this. Let's just do the parentheses. Parentheses, 1, parentheses, parentheses, negative 14. So the calculator understands that when there's parentheses like that side by side, it means multiply. Side by side we multiply. 81. So the green part there, the discriminant, is 81. So here we go. We get 5. So m is equal to 5 plus or minus the square root of 81 over 2. Now, every time this comes out to be a perfect square, it means we could have factored this before. We didn't have to get a weird answer. We could have actually just factored this into m and m minus 7 and plus 2. All right, that would have worked. That would have made this right here, and then we get an answer of 7, and we get an answer of negative 2 when we do this zero product proper t. But we're still going to get those answers out of here, because we can do 5 plus or minus, because there's two solutions, has to be plus or minus. Square root of 81 is 9 over 2. So now we get the two solutions. 5 plus So it's like the song, I'll take the high road, you take the low road. So it's 5 plus 9, and then 5 minus 9. So there's two solutions. Well, 5 plus 9 is 14, so it's 14 over 2 is equal to m. And then the other one would be 5 minus 9. 5 minus 9 is negative 4, so it's negative 4 over 2. And those reduce to the answers that I set up here. M would be 7 and negative 2. So factoring for this one is actually faster. All right. So let's go on to another one. Let's do one at the bottom of the page here. Let's go ahead and do number 8 because I pointed that one out. So we get, so we have m equals, again, the person that made this worksheet up really likes m. M equals negative b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. You don't have to write that down every time because you have it up here, or you'd probably want to put it in this margin there. All right, so here we go. Identify a, b, and c, but I can't identify a, b, and c yet because of the fact that I need to make this be equal to 0. So how am I going to get this equal to 0? Well, I've got to move the 10. The 10 is negative, so I add 10 to each side. So I get 2m squared minus 7m minus 3 equals 0. Yay! A is equal to 2 this time, so it's the number in front there. Then b goes with the m, and then c is negative 3. So it's kind of like the last problem. All right, plugging in b, I got the double negative again, so m is equal to 7 plus or minus square root over 2a. So 2, and then a is 2. 2 times 2. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I'll write it this way. All right, now I'm going to put in the discriminant. I'm switching colors. Hopefully you can see that this is green. And it's negative 7 is squared. So b squared minus 4. A is not 1 this time. A is 2. And then c is negative 3. So that's the part we calculate, the part underneath. So I'm going to do that again. The b squared minus 4ac. So clear. So we get parentheses, negative 7. Why did I put 2? Because I was on the lot. No, negative 7, parentheses, squared, minus 4, parentheses, a, which is 2, close the parentheses, c, which is negative 3. So notice these look different. There's the negative symbol, there's the minus symbol. They do look different. Answer, 73. Okay, 73 is not a perfect square. So I can just, I'm done. I don't have to take the square root of it. So m is equal to, we'll switch back to this color. M is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 73 over 4. Now you can come up with a decimal approximation of this. So what you can do to get a decimal approximation, because 73 doesn't have a perfect square, so it's not a perfect square, so you can't get the answer to it. So you would do left parentheses 7 plus the square root of 73. Push myself out, close the parentheses. Now it's very important that you do the parentheses there to say 7 plus the square root of 73. Because if you didn't, then you wouldn't be dividing all of this by 4. In fact, there's invisible parentheses here that you don't see. All right, and then divided by 4. And that would be one answer, one approximation. So it's 3.886. So m is approximately equal to 3.886. And then m is approximately equal to, boom. Now let me show you a trick here. Well, just go up, I guess would be the fastest way. Just go up and hit enter. So see how that's highlighted now. Hit the up button. And I'm going to just edit this. So I'm going to go here, instead of retyping it all over again, I'm going to change it to minus, because it has to be 7 minus. So it's 7 plus that and 7 minus that. And we can get a decimal approximation again. So this would be negative 3.86. Negative 0.386. All right, so that's the exact answer. And then over here is the decimal approximations. Okay, Okay, so that's the approximate answers because this involves this weird square root. Okay, let's see what's on the other side of the worksheet. Oh, so this one has all kinds of weird things to it. Let's look at, you just got to make sure it's set equal to 0. This one here I wouldn't even do the quadratic formula on because the b term is missing. I would divide the 5 over and then take the square root like we did on the other worksheet. This one here you have to move 2 things over, so let's look at number 16. So I got to move 2 things over to make it be equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract over 7n, and I'm going to subtract over 4. Okay, so what am I left with? When this is gone, that's gone, so I have 9n squared minus 7n minus 4 is equal to 0. So the 7n moved over and the 4 moved over. So now I have it in standard form. So identify A, B, and C. So A is equal to 9, B is equal to -7, and C is equal to -4. So again, I have the double negative. On number 11, I'm not going to have the double negative. So this would be 2k squared plus 9k, add the 7 over equals 0. So I'm not going to have a double negative here. So when I put the b in, it will be -9, right? But this again has the double negative with it. So here we go. I'll put the quadratic formula over here. So n is equal to -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you'll accidentally memorize that formula if you do these problems. So double negative again, so n is equal to 7 plus or minus square root 2a. Ooh, 2 times a is 9, so it'll be 18 on the bottom. And then b squared would be -7 squared minus 4 times a, which is 9, times c, which is -4. All right, so I'm typing that part, that discriminant part, into the calculator, and I get -7 parentheses squared minus, and I'm back. So -7 squared minus 4, so I put the 4 in, and then the a, which is 9, and then the c, which is -4. And enter. 193. 193 is also not a perfect square, because like 225 is a perfect square, 196 is a perfect square, but not the 193. So n is equal to 7 plus or minus the square root of 193 over 18. And again, if you want the decimal approximations, you'd put there's invisible parentheses here, right? So you got to have the parentheses on the calculator, just like we did earlier. And you do 7 plus the square root of 193, and that has to be in parentheses, divided by 18, and then 7 minus the square root of 193 over 18. All right, so go ahead and try these problems. They're not too bad. You just got to identify A, B, and C, and then put them in the formula. Let's go ahead and eliminate a few of these because we don't need to do all of these problems. Let's go ahead. I did that one with you. Let's eliminate some of these on the back side. You can do all the ones on the front side. So let's go ahead and eliminate 10 and 13 and 15 and 17 and 18. So that leaves you with 1, 2, 3, 4 on the back side. So did you catch those? 10, 13, 15, 17, 18. So we eliminated those. And then on the front side, it leaves you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 10 problems to do. That's pretty good.